So one thing I love about the Dharma is when I'm thinking about a topic and I receive teachings or different conversations with different people that kind of feed in on that same topic. And last week, Venerable Lamsel gave a topic on what it means to be special. And today I want to talk about importance, what it means to be important. This weekend, Venerable Kadro was teaching on anger and was teaching on the causes and conditions that lead to anger. And we all know that the root cause is the self-grasping ignorance. But then she said the next thing after that belief in an I comes the view of self-importance, that I am the center of the universe. And that view of that I am the most important, and it breeds selfishness. And from that is where all our expectations come from, our rules of the universe. And from that creates kind of our framework of reality, which is often quite unrealistic. But it's because of those expectations that breed attachment and aversion, the afflictions, unhappiness, discontent, and everything else. So going back and looking at that self-importance is really important. And I'd already been thinking on this because I've been reading a commentary on the 7-point mind training by Kenshin Thangru Rinpoche, and really enjoying it. And I read one section that really kind of stopped me in my tracks. He was saying that if one regards oneself as being more important than others, sooner or later one will express this in ways that are harmful to others, which creates ill will and, again, discontent. But regarding others as more important will sooner or later be beneficial for others and for oneself. So he says, therefore, we should try our best to develop the attitude of thinking of others as more important than ourselves. And he really emphasized that this is the basis of mind training, shifting our view from viewing the self as more important to the view of others as more important, and how that view really benefits everybody. And like I said, this really made me pause because I've been seeing the complete opposite lately. I've been seeing myself as viewing myself as more important and seeing the arrogance come out, which I think is in a way a stage of my growth as a monastic, that I started out with a lot of self-criticism and shame and blame and fear. And so now that I'm feeling a little more self-confident, it's kind of pendulum has swung to the other side, and I'm being more arrogant and thinking as myself as more important, which is quite harmful because then that actually causes more harm towards others. I remember a long time ago actually thinking about arrogance and kind of self-baiting and kind of rejoicing like, well, I'd rather beat up on myself than be mean to others. So I'm glad I have this self-beating rather than being really arrogant and causing a lot of harm. But I recognize neither of those views are really skillful or helpful. So hopefully I grow out of both of them. But, but yeah, and it shows that the importance is really working on that valid basis of self-confidence where I don't need to try to prove myself and question my self-worth, and where the idea of self-confidence doesn't even come up as an issue. Like I said, I've been seeing it come up in different ways. And I think it was just before the retreat, I was seeing how my need to be listened to can actually really be translated as I want to get my way because I'm more important. And yeah, it was just humbling to see like, oh, that's, yeah, an undercurrent dialogue of this is why it's so important that I be listened to, because people need to know that I'm right. Another thing that I've really been seeing is that lately I've been doing kind of a lot more extra offering service tasks, which has taken kind of a lot more intense focus and brain power to understand the water system and many different things that are way over my level normally. But I've been able to work on it if I stay focused. But as soon as the self-centered thought, the idea that kind of makes it personal, gets in the way, it makes it painful. And as soon as I start saying like, this is too hard, I can't do this, I'm not appreciated, blah, 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 it zaps my energy and it makes the task so much harder to do and focus on. And so it's been actually really helpful to recognize that sneaking in, because I had been really focused. And so I could kind of see the difference between being focused on it and having that voice sneak in and totally derail my focus. And so it's been really helpful in being like, I don't have time for you right now. Like, just go away. You're so not helpful. And to really, I recognize that, when I'm making it personal, then it's just a huge distraction and just gets in the way, and I can't focus on what I need to do. So instead of feeding the self-importance and is seeing what is, learning to see really what is important. And so usually first thing in the morning, I wake up and I kind of think like, okay, what's today? What do I need to do? But then I am shifting it. I mean, I do usually shift it to the 3 motivations, but I've been having fun really not just saying, may I cause no harm, but really seeing the most important thing I have to do today is to not cause harm. The most important thing I have to do today is try to be of benefit. Those are the priorities, not my other task list. And that's been really helpful in I guess, clarifying those priorities. So I think there's 2 ways, probably more, but 2 ways that I've identified of working with this view of self-importance, which is really another way of a form of insecurity and again, gets in the way of my bodhicitta aspiration. And so the first one is kind of what Venerable Kadro had talked about, is seeing the disadvantages of it, seeing that view of self-importance, how that breeds expectations, high standards, which then breeds the afflictions, ill will, and suffering. And then the other one is learning to see myself accurate, really. I think a couple weeks ago, Venerable Jigme said something that really stuck with me. And she said that no one can take away your dignity. No one. No other person can make an accurate assessment of myself, my sense of self-respect, other than myself. And really recognizing that this is an inside job that takes accurate, active analysis. Really learning to acknowledge my good qualities and especially learning to accept my weaknesses. But I've recognized that doing this kind of this accurate assessment really helps to level the playing ground and helps kind of neutralize the view of self-importance and creates more of a sense of equanimity by realizing that everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses, that no one is better or worse, no one is more important or less important than anyone else. And reflecting on this really helps to create a sense more of humility and that self-confidence, which is what His Holiness says is incredibly important to have to be on the bodhisattva path. And it also takes just so much time worrying about what others think about me, when really that doesn't matter because that assessment is not really accurate. And so to develop that genuine sense of bodhicitta means developing that sense of self-confidence and self-worth, and really having that confidence in my Buddha nature, in my potential and my ability to learn and change and grow. Because I've got a long way to go, but that potential of changing and learning and growing is huge. And so learning to trust in that and learning to trust in my good heart, which is hard because it often gets buried in the mud of the self-centered thought and the afflictions. But learning to trust again and again that mud is adventitious, that it's not who I am, it's just on the surface completely distracting and derailing me, and that it can be removed. And really learning to trust in kind of that ultimate purity of the mind. Again, no one can take away my dignity is a really strong statement because I have so many fears and afflictions that come from not believing this. Fear that people can take away my dignity, take away my voice and my choice. But that fear is not true. And it's only if I believe it to be true, then I allow others to take my dignity. But it's really my responsibility to learn how to express myself without needing to prove myself. And slowly, slowly, I'm gaining confidence that I can do this. I have a or I used to have, a postcard on my refrigerator when I had a refrigerator as a layperson. But the postcard said, life is too important to take it too seriously. And I loved that because, yeah, I think it's so true. And I've been playing with that quote that I'm too important to take myself too seriously. I'm too important to pretend that I'm more important than others. But it's my Buddha nature and our Buddha nature that is more important, is too important to get hung up on in angry judgments, comparison, competition, power trips, blah, blah, blah. Our Buddha nature is way more important than that. And so that's what I'm slowly working on to help stretch my mind to get away from the inaccurate, harmful, painful view of this self-importance. And again, that first step is to work on at least trying to see ourselves as equally important, and then eventually to see the truth and the wisdom in the bodhichitta view as seeing others as more important. I'm a long way off from that, but at least I'm trying to get to that equally important view. Again, Khenchen Thangru Rinpoche said the basis of mind training and cultivating bodhicitta is shifting our view and seeing others as most important. And that is the view that benefits everyone.